What is up, everyone? Andre Bailey here, live at the Change Everything offices. Are these offices? Would you call these offices?
Yeah, I think it's the studios, really.
The studio or O's? Is there an S on that?
Well, there's multiple rooms. yeah.
Gotcha. So
Yeah.
I'm here tonight, Wednesday night,
Wednesday.
here at the studios with
Yep.
Jim Thomas, Orlando Tech. Uh-oh. I'm going to have to turn down the volume here. We've got some volume coming back here.
Nice. Yeah.
So, Jim, how you doing, man? What's going on?
I'm good, man. How are you doing?
Good, doing well. So,
Yep.
I'm going to go up here for a second and talk about and show everyone. How's everyone doing out there? We're going to talk for a second today. Actually, I'm going to have everyone introduce themselves real quick. Alex, say hi to everyone out there in Facebook land.
Hey, guys.
Gabe, what's going on?
Hey.
Gabe, should I turn this TV down? Is that the problem?
Sure.
Okay. So Gabe, put up the green graphics just so I can show everyone what we're doing to start. And Jim, go ahead and share this. So today, Jim Thomas, is social media ruining your life? Daniel, get up in on this. Let's show this. This is the question. Is social media ruining your life? And here's, Jim, the really interesting thing. We are here on social media tonight talking about whether social media is ruining your life. So it's going to be interesting. So tell me a little bit before we get started on this topic. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. There's so many great things going on. If you focus, one of the things I love talking about these days is people think that we live in the worst times in humanity, and it's actually one of the best.
Look pretty interesting.
But we have to navigate. That's why it's a good conversation to have tonight. Is we got to navigate. You can't just throw it all out there, and bad things can still happen. But if you watch the news today, you just think, man, these are not good times we're living in. But as you well know, these are some of the best, most prosperous times.
Prosperous. I don't think that's a word.
It is. No, we'll look that up later.
Prosperous. Yeah, I actually think the Quakers used to use prosperitus to describe when the corn was being harvested in certain times of the years and it was plentiful. So
yes,
no, I agree.
Very plentiful.
I agree with you. I think that's why we want to talk about this subject tonight.
Right.
Social media, is it ruining your life? You're a tech guy. You of anyone I know, you see the ups, downs, the highs and the lows of how tech can impact our life. And so we're going to talk about that for a few minutes tonight and just catch up. If you're out there and you are watching this, share it. Is your wife watching?
Sure.
What's she doing?
She's doing a dinner tonight. She does one of her wellness dinners for a big group of people tonight, so it's really cool. But she will watch the replay.
Okay, so our viewership is going to be.
I think she's already shared it.
She shared it. Okay,
It'll be a third of what it normally is.
So let's dive into this a second. Actually, Gabe, pull up that article. We're going to dive in. We have a few links we want to show you.
We're going straight in.
So check this article out. We're going to share this right now on the page. This is the former VP of Facebook. Fascinating stuff. This is the guy that helped make Facebook, helped create it. And he talks about the perils of how social media, we're going to start with a few negative things here.
Bring it on.
The perils of social media, and he talks about the dopamine-driven feedback loops. Gabe, do me a favor. Play that first clip we had of this. We took 1 minute out of this interview. We'll post the whole thing later. But I just want to show people a few snippets of this interview. I think it's really good. I'll turn the volume up just so people can hear it.
I want to bring us back to the point that you were making about exploiting consumer behavior in a consumer internet business. You said that this is a time for soul searching in social media businesses, and you were part of building the largest one. What soul searching are you doing right now on that?
I feel tremendous guilt. I think we all knew
Some highfalutin tech right here, buddy. So.
Even though we feigned this whole line of there probably aren't any really bad unintended consequences, I think in the back, deep recesses of our minds, we kind of knew something bad could happen. But I think the way we defined it was not like this. It literally is a point now where I think we have created tools that are ripping apart the social fabric of how society works. That is truly where we are. And I would encourage all of you, as the future leaders of the world, to really internalize how important this is. If you feed the beast, that beast will destroy you.
So Jim, very positive way to start the meeting. No, I like
Feed
this.
the beast.
Go ahead and post that. We'll go ahead and post that on the feed. By the way, we want to hear from you. We want to hear from you out there. We got a bunch of folks watching this live. Do you think social media positive, negative? What's positive? What's negative? So here's where I will start. If I think about the negative parts of social media, I think about the idea that social media, like anything in our life, used too much.
Right.
Too much of it can be a negative thing. And so what this guy is saying, and we're going to post this article, is, and Facebook's probably one of the companies that is taking the most hits right now, that Facebook was created by folks like this to purposely make you addicted to the product. That they set out when they were building it, not just to create a connected community, but to create a community where you were almost addicted to that interaction.
Folks like this.
Well, he talks about the interaction, that the normal interactions you'd have, but they created it to where they wanted you to have probably an abnormal amount. What are your thoughts on that? You've been keeping up with Facebook.
Yeah. I would just take a step back and say, well, wasn't that the New York Times? You know, since the dawn of modern media began, that's been their job. Like, you got up the next day and you had to go buy the paper, right? Like, that was your only source. You had to stay tuned into the radio. You had to watch the nightly news with Walter Cronkite to know what was going on. It was, if they didn't have the eyeballs there, then it wouldn't, you know, they wouldn't have been able to stay in business. And so now this is just the exponential form of that form of media.
Yeah, I think what you're saying, and I can appreciate this, is every product within the boundaries of the law, its goal is to get you to use it as much as possible.
Keep drinking Coke and Pepsi.
Drink Coke and Pepsi as much as you can. We have a Red Bull cooler here in the office. Danielle will show this. It's stocked on a bi-weekly basis. We are addicted to Red Bull here. So we understand addiction. But I will tell you, though, I think the challenge then is how good the product is.
Right.
You know, if I open my phone, I can't hit a button and Red Bull squirts out on me. That would be pretty cool. That app might be coming soon.
That app's coming, yeah.
So I think the incredible power of the application, the technology piece, combined with that creation to connect with you and make you want to be at it all the time. There's an article we saw, and Alex is coming over. There's an article we saw that the average person out there is on social media 8.5 hours, media and social media, 8.5 hours a day. Gabe, you can pull that up. Google average digital social media consumption. Pull it up.
Right.
8.5 hours a day. We're on social media, consuming media more than we sleep, and exponentially more. This is the part that gets probably really unhealthy than talking to people. So, what are your thoughts?
Well, and how much time out of our waking hours are we in front of a screen? I know myself. I wake up, I look at a screen. You know, after I shower, I go to a different screen, and then I go to a different screen, and then at night, then I watch a bigger screen.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'd say 90% of my day is in front of some type of screen. Now, are we talking to each other? You know, we text, we whatever, like, you know, we're communicating, we're being, you know, humans, we're working on good stuff, but, you know, does that, is that a bad thing?
It's not a bad thing if you own Facebook. So here's the chart up here. Social media use in 2018. Gabe, what's that say? What does it say, the hours on there? So we'll find that one, but again, I saw one that said 8.5 hours. Now, I think that was checking the news, on social media, and watching television. But half of that's on your device now, more than half. More than half of people out there are consuming their media on a device. By the way, Melissa Taylor says Red Bull is so bad for you. Melissa,
we should generally stop.
Melissa, I just want you to know we're here to criticize Facebook tonight, not Red Bull. I'd appreciate if you stay on topic.
Somebody needs to invent the healthy Red Bull. Yeah.
Yes, a Red Bull that you have to limit, you know, just like Facebook.
Exactly.
So we put together a few thoughts, Jim. I'm going to dive into this. I'm going to come up. Gabe, pull up those slides on the 5 things we were talking about with social media. So here's a thought right here. Is social media ruining our lives? This is the big idea for today. Social media is one of the most powerful forces in our modern society, but it now has both positive and potentially, that's the word, potentially negative impacts on our lives. Our connections and quotes, and sometimes lack thereof, created by this incredible force, has now transcended just the ability to waste our time, but instead has the ability to disrupt and waste our lives. We don't want that to happen, and so we put together a few slides. I think, Jim, you're going to appreciate this.
Yep.
On the 5 ways to change your social media for good. Here we go, and we're going to post all these. Number 1 or number 5? Number 5? We'll go in reverse. Number 5.
Let's go in reverse.
Be selective with the people you follow. Now, this is important. I think, like anything out there, we just have to know how to create barriers, how to create boundaries. And when you have so many people that you allow through social media to give input in your world, I think that can be a negative thing. I think I saw Cole Neesmith last week. He put a post out there, a good friend of ours, and he talked about, should I allow just everyone to give me comments, even if I don't like their feedback? I say, be selective with the people you allow to give inputs. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's so funny that we even debate that, because you wouldn't be like, well, somebody I really don't like, and I don't find value in them at all. Oh, but we went to dinner last week. And then we went to a movie afterwards, and then we had a couple of drinks after that. I'd be like, why would you be spending time with that person, right? But then all of a sudden on social, we get afraid to unfriend somebody or unfollow. And if somebody's going to act that way in life, I call them social monsters. Because sometimes you see people in person and they're friendly and they seem positive and they say some nice stuff to you, and then they get on, and whether it's to you or not, but then they get on social media and they just go crazy, and they're bashing everybody, and it doesn't matter left, right, it doesn't matter. They're just digging in, and if that's how they really felt, fine. But for their persona to be different on social, I just find it unacceptable. Be who you are and be who you are that way 100% of the time. But if you don't like that person, just stop. You don't even need to unfriend them these days.
This is the key
just
right here.
Undamn follow.
Yep.
Right? It comes off of your feed.
I'm not sure everyone knows this or fully understands it. If you're a Facebook person, if you're someone who uses Facebook, just go to your list and put unfollow, and all of a sudden you won't see them ever again. It's like you were allowed to digitally kill them, except without the consequence.
But you don't even have to break up, because you can unfriend, right? You can do that, but you don't have to do that. You just take their negativity out of your feed.
Correct. So be selective with the people you follow. Gabe, next one up, number 4. This is an interesting one. Don't live in the past. I think, and this is broad, don't just apply this to your 7th grade girlfriend, but the idea that we use social media sometimes to live in the past and to dwell on things, whether they're relationships, whether it's old jobs, whether it's our politics, sometimes it can be a dwelling in the past. Use social media to live in the present, don't live in the past. What are your thoughts on that one?
Well, again, it's just good advice. It's so funny because I think social media and how we deal with it is so new, but the same thing. If we're out having drinks and you're like, man, I can't believe my high school girlfriend broke up with me, you'd be like, Andre.
Or if you were like, hey, my high school girlfriend is over there, I think I'm going to go have a drink with her. That would be a bad idea. Now, I don't want to get off on the social media and relationship conversation, but I just want to give you one rule. I'm going to give you a rule on social media that applies to don't live in the past. If you're married or you have a relationship with someone that's very committed, like Alex, and met Alex's wonderful wife, Alex is married, this is the rule. I'll see what Alex and Gabe think of this. You should not be friends with anyone on social media when you're married or in a relationship that's committed. You should not be friends with anyone on social media that you've seen naked. That's my opinion. If you've seen them naked, you must unfriend them. Now, you could have kissed them on the playground in the 5th grade. Daniela behind the camera, she's like, hell yeah. You could have held hands. You could have even dated. But if you've seen them naked, you got to unfriend them. Jim, I won't make you comment on that one. But
how about LinkedIn? Can you be LinkedIn friends with them?
I don't know. Let's just say that's risky business. That's all I'm going to tell you. So don't live in the past and don't be hanging out with negative people when you're in a relationship. All right, the next one, Gabe. Number 3, turn off notifications and alerts. Jim, this one I think is practical, But when you talk about that dopamine loop that gentleman who helped create Facebook, this is the science behind it. We'll put this article up. The science is that they created the alerts and the likes in order to give you this little dopamine boost. You ever see your phone buzz and it's like, oh, who just commented and who said something? That's an actual matrix style program that Facebook and these other social media companies have put together to try to kind of bait you in. There's nothing bad about that by itself, but I would just say this: turn off notifications, turn off all of these alerts, and use social media naturally as opposed to being prompted to use it. You have what alerts you got?
But it's the same. No, but it's the same thing. But the news alerts, email alerts. Like if you want to be a productive person, and if you want to get things done, you would turn off all the notifications. And that's not a Facebook thing. That goes to your cell phone. Go into, if it's an iPhone, you go into notifications, and then you can be very selective about what can jump in and what can't. And that's a huge, just productivity alone, much less mindset and just personal sanity.
So we're going to go two more. And Gabe, you're doing such a great job. Look at Gabe. Gabe is one handsome young man. So I've never seen Gabe naked, so I can keep following him on social media. That's great. So just for the record. So next one, Gabe. Go ahead, Alex. Don't do negative. Now this one's tough. There's some people out there, Jim, that aren't going to love this one. But just decide if you want your social media to be healthy. Don't do negative. I think this is the toughest one right now because to me, one of my biggest criticisms of social media, especially Facebook nowadays, is that it can just naturally go negative for some reason. I don't know why that is, but if you make a decision that, now this doesn't mean, watch this, hold on a second. This doesn't mean you can't put up something that you're passionate about. It doesn't mean you can't have an opinion that has some bite to it. It just means though, are you looking to do something productive? Are you looking to have a productive conversation? Are you looking just to kind of bitch and be negative? Don't do negative. How do you think people can not be negative on social media?
Social is strange for that reason because you would come out, everybody always has that like crazy neighbor or something, but when you see each other, walking out to the street, I was going to say picking up the paper, but I don't think people get papers delivered anymore, but you don't say something negative to your neighbor that way, right? But somehow social gives you this veil to chime it, to kind of like sound off on folks. I was reading something the other day and they were talking about all the stuff that Elon Musk is up to and all this like really progressive, like societal changing stuff. And it was just one little like snipey negative comment after another. And you could be critical of certain things, but just to be negative for the sake of negativity, that's what I think, to your point, is take those people out of your feed. You don't surround yourself. You don't go to parties with 100 negative people. You go to parties where you think there's going to be 100 friends and positive people around you. And you got to bring that same mentality right into social, and then check yourself. Are you being negative? Are you using that as some type of outlet? Are you expressing some type of anger or regret or whatever over something? And just, as Andre would say, just don't do it.
So Jim's doing something very bizarre. I don't even know how I feel about it right now. We're trying to talk about social media, and he keeps bringing up real life, which is I'm feeling uncomfortable.
Crazy that there would be a bridge between real life and so. I know. I'm going out on a limb here.
No, but it's interesting because you are saying if you went out to get the paper and you saw your neighbor and he's going out to get the paper. Is there still a newspaper?
Okay, there's like 4 subscriptions.
Okay, so you're going out to get the newspaper, and all of a sudden you see your neighbor. And you wouldn't blast him. You wouldn't drop all caps, exclamation point.
I can't believe you voted for so and so, and you're an idiot. And
no, you wouldn't do that. So in real life, think about what you would do in real life. Do it on social media. And last, drum roll, Gabe. I think you're gonna like this one. Create a digital footprint of love and compassion. I like that. We're all creating a digital footprint now. Gabe likes that. Create a digital footprint of love and compassion. I actually think with all of the negative that you can tie to social media gives people with passion, with heart, people with causes. It gives you a platform to talk to people you could never reach. The average person can now talk to the world. I think that's very powerful. Gabe, put those 2 green memes up one at a time, and then we're going to be done up here, and I'm going to go talk to Jim. Whoa. The 2 green ones I sent you? Nope. There you go. Here we go. Gabe's got it. We're going to post these two memes. I really like these two. Use social media to change the world. Don't let it use you and ruin yours. Kind of the first thing we want to say today. The last thing, and we just talked about this a second ago. Next one up. Use social media to create a digital footprint of love and compassion on the hearts of everyone you are connected with. So, Jim, that's all we got, man. So, are you deleting your Facebook account now? Is that your plan?
No, because I think what's going on with Facebook, we delete Facebook today, and there's a new social network tomorrow. Like the social networks, just like any other business, they need to reassure us that there's privacy protections. But at the same time, if we're spending too much time watching news, the whole issue is around fake news and are people being manipulated. It's the same thing. I always call it the crisis news network. But if you sit in front of CNN 24/7, Fox News, it doesn't matter. I'm not being prejudiced or one over the other. But if you sit there, their job is to keep your eyeballs on that screen and not to switch off of that, right? And social's the same way. You have to make sure that you're spending the time in the right way, and whether it's Facebook or Instagram or any of them, you'd have to be careful and you have to be deliberate. And I thought your list of 5 was awesome.
Thank you, sir. So
Yeah.
LaVonda Payne says, think about it. They keep dumbing down generations. They just turn them into putty so they can make the world they want. I mean, like we really have come down to our kid eating Tide Pods. I just say wash it down with a cup of bleach. It's all fake. So I'm not recommending a cup of bleach to wash down your Tide Pod. I think YouTube took the Tide Pod videos down. They're not going to let those on anymore. I'm going to come back to something, though, you were just talking about, the privacy on Facebook. So I was out, I think last week, and the news alert came across my phone, because I have some news alerts, that Facebook was caught. People didn't know. I didn't know. I don't think you knew. We talked about this. Facebook, if you had an Android, was collecting all of your phone records. So if you had an Android phone, Facebook was collecting every call you ever made, and they could access it, and they could potentially sell it. And people didn't know that. And I think that was a big tipping point for some people. It's one thing to say, hey, privacy concerns, but what about the fact that every call you've ever made has been recorded by your social media company?
Well, and that's why I think it creates a market opportunity. I've seen there's a new internet browser that the whole basis of the browser is, hey, we're a good browser, and we promise we don't collect anything.
I've heard about this.
Right, anything, but why would you need that unless people were just nervous about what is being collected? The flip side of that, and where Google and where Amazon Alexa and those type of devices are, is they say, no, that's our value proposition, is we know everything about you. And we're going to shop for you, and the more that we know you, the better we can make this experience for you. And then you either buy into that ecosystem or you don't.
Yeah.
And people get freaked out because it knows that the Amazon Alexa is listening to every word. Now it's not just the phone call I made, it's my entire conversation while I'm sitting there with my wife at home. It's listening to every word. And the only difference when she responds is I throw an "Hey Alexa" in the middle of that conversation, and then she comes to life. But that means that those devices are listening to my watch, our phones. It's not the computers. Everything is listening. But we have to then respect and honor companies that then make us feel good and give our trust to them. And then when we find out things, we both have a ton of friends who said, I'm out. Or they've now just said, okay, I'll have a business page and I'll do this one thing on the network, and the rest of the private, the personal stuff, I'm out.
I almost deleted my Facebook account last week. I just
Right.
because, and this is why. So, what was that guy's name who played the other character in the Facebook movie? Not help me out here, Gabe.
Not Justin Timberlake.
No. But so Jesse Eisenberg played Mark Zuckerberg.
Yep.
Then the guy who played, was he Spider-Man at one point? Or he played. Andrew Garfield. They did an interview with Andrew Garfield last week, and this topic of Facebook came up because he was in the Facebook movie and he played the guy that sued Mark Zuckerberg and won 9% of the company and is on the masthead. And this guy, they said, "Do you have a Facebook account?" He said, "No, man, never." And I said, "Why?" He said, Andrew Garfield said, in putting together the Facebook movie, we saw the research on how this company was put together, and he said, "This is a bad company." Like his inference was,
I'll own 10%, but
no, yeah, he's like, no, Andrew Garfield, the actor, said this is not the guy he played. But Andrew Garfield said, "This is not a good company. This is a company." So I say that only to say this: it's possible that we don't necessarily have a social media problem; we have a Facebook problem. Corporations can go sideways. Corporations can have a bad culture. So, is it possible that Facebook needs more regulation, needs to be corrected, and it's more one company than social media in general?
Well, the crazy thing about Facebook is it arguably has, I'm trying to think of India and China's population, but there's something north of 2 billion accounts on Facebook. There's north of 1 billion daily users on Facebook.
Yeah.
So there's 330 million Americans. So that's every American times 3 on the social network, on every day, right? Like we've never had that type, because media has had their influence over the past, 300 years that you've had this type of media or mass media, but it's reached this exponential stage. And I'll talk a little bit later about the networks that are coming out and the growth and the ability to get on those social networks. But that's what I think people are freaking out, because all of a sudden now was our government or elections shifted because of that. But all of a sudden you have the ear of 2 billion plus people. That's the most powerful thing.
So maybe
super
everything
powerful.
has been shifted because
Right.
of that.
Everything.
Not to say that. I'm in no way begging an inference that there wasn't possibly Russian interference. It looks like there was. But social media, to your point, has become so powerful. You can use it to influence anything you want. I would tell you, if you look at some of the work we've done in this community, some of the important projects like the Homeless Initiative or some of the projects you've been involved in, we don't have any success. We don't rally the community at all without social media. We would not have been able to make progress without social media.
Right.
So it's really, are you going to use social media? Is social media ruining your life? Hopefully not. But social media, more importantly, is a tool that's powerful that you can use for good on yourself and others, or it can be bad for yourself and others.
Perfect example. You can drive somebody to the hospital who's suffering from some ailment, or some idiot in France could, drive over 70 plus people.
The car is just a vehicle.
The car is just a tool. The hammer builds a house. The hammer can kill somebody. Right. But it's the exponential effect of being able to literally, we have a big enough audience, 1 billion people could be watching it. And now the translation technology that's coming out like today and will be ubiquitous over the next couple of years allows real-time translation of all of the major languages, and soon all of the languages. Right. So you could literally talk to it. All of those cultural and language barriers would then be gone as well.
Take a minute, go through some of these slides. You brought some very interesting things.
And
you just head on up there.
Right before this, if we can go back, there we go. There we go. The good, the bad, and the ugly. What I wanted to talk about was this next slide. One more over. This is what I was just alluding to, is right now less than half of the planet, we're approaching 8 billion people, and we have about 3.5 billion people that actually have daily reliable Wi-Fi or internet service at some level. And over just the next 5 years, we're going to launch several companies, Facebook's one of them, is going to launch satellite constellations around the entire planet to give the entire globe. You could be in Antarctica and have soon 5G internet access. So now today, 3.5 billion, as we're having this conversation, and that's why I brought up the translation piece. Now we have the entire planet with almost free, or I think they'll really give it away for free. There won't be this, remember when we used to pay for the internet and it was $100 a month and it was expensive and it didn't work so well? Those days will be gone. And the entire planet will have, all 8 billion people will have that type of access. So it goes right back to, are you using it for good? Are you using it for evil? Are you selling, somebody says they want to be a billionaire. You go add an ounce of value and sell a $1 product to a billion people. Wham. Next week, Andre, you're a billionaire, because with love and compassion, people go like, wow, I love what he's selling. And oh, by the way, it's only 99 cents and I'm in, right? Now you're the world's newest billionaire and you've done something positive. The thing that we have to be careful about is, do people use that for good or evil? Do they use that to shift governments? Do they use it to shift policy? Do they use it for corporate profits? And so, but this is coming. This will happen, I think, within the next 3 to 5 years. Absolutely. And one of those companies is right in our backyard, called OneWeb. SpaceX is doing the same thing. They're going to put a constellation of anywhere from 800 different plans, 800 from one company. SpaceX is looking at doing 12,000 satellites just to offer this global Wi-Fi. So what do you think about that?
Well, I mean, I think, again, what we started off on is social media ruining your life. I think where the conversation's gone now is just the idea that social media isn't going anywhere. Social media isn't going anywhere. So we have to, I think, as I'm processing this right now, we're going to have to become very good at being healthy with social media, because it's going to be a force in our life and our society. I actually think it is I would tell you, I think it's the most powerful force. Tech and communication through social media, I think, is the most powerful force in the world now. I say this often to people, and it's tough to have a conversation about it, but I think that the rise of Donald Trump and him winning, I talk about Donald Trump on a show, people can lose their mind, but I'm not going to get political. I'm not getting political. Yep. But I have always believed, and I've seen some other experts who believe this, that Donald Trump's victory, there were some economic factors, there's some factors of what he focused on that was negative, absolutely. But it really was more about a candidate who knew how to use social media, culture, and technology. Right. I think it could have been, it was who got there first. Right. I think if Oprah would have run, and she would have used social media and culture, we like cool people now, and technology to communicate, in a way that's profound. So I just think that technology, social media impacted politics in a lot of different ways. I think it's impacting all of our consumption. I did something crazy yesterday. You want to hear what I did that was absolutely nuts? I went to the grocery store. Like in real life. Like I went.
There's an app for that.
I know, but I felt like I needed to stop by and just say hi. Right. I mean, the bag boy, he had missed me, and I went in there and I was like, why am I physically here? Instacart changed the way we buy groceries. Right. Tech is changing the way we live every part of our life. So tech's not going anywhere. Social media is not going anywhere. So I think these are forces that we're going to have to personally learn how to work with in a way that's profound.
There's a couple of other things that I would add to the conversation that just takes it in a crazy direction. And it's two. And it's one, it's called deep fakes. And it's the idea that they can capture your face, anybody's face, and put it onto an avatar or somebody else's body, and you literally from the naked eye you just can't tell
in real life
because it's stitching technology. They put your face, and then however, if they have enough of that image, they could put it onto somebody else's body.
Wait, in real life or a video?
No, I'm sorry. It's all video. Okay. It's all video. It's digital.
I saw something about this, and here's what they were worried about with deep fakes.
Deep fakes is the way I've heard
Here's what's amazing about that. you know, in the 80s, in the 90s, you're watching a movie, and in that movie, there's a courtroom scene where they find this videotape of the guy walking in the bank and shooting the teller and guilty.
Right.
There's the video. There's Hank. He's holding the gun. He shoots the teller. What you're saying, guilty. What you're saying is deep fakes will allow us to create almost flawless replicas on video and digital prints, digital photos. So what is real? What are you seeing that's real and what's fake? That's what you're saying is going to be crazy.
But that's where we're, in the 2016 election, they were talking about fake news, right? But right after that, they were saying by the 2020 election, the video, this deep fake technology, and then I've heard some programs, they need just like 30 seconds of your voice, and they can replicate your voice.
That's scary.
So now it's not, oh, somebody wrote an article that has a little slant this way. No, it's you up declaring war against, against Tennessee, and you're like, that's not me. And you're like, Andre, I saw the video. Like, why would you have declared war against Tennessee?
It's your voice.
It's your voice.
Face.
And it's your face.
It's not you.
And it's, oh, by the way, it's not. You had nothing to do with it whatsoever. How are we going to deal with that? So what I'm saying today is not only the technology is going to be at a whole different direction.
Here come the fake videos. There's an article on it. Gabe, pull that up. Artificial intelligence video. And Gabe, when you pull these up, you can just put these links in if you want. Artificial intelligence video tools make it relatively easy to put one person's face on another. So yeah, it's showing how easily you can do that.
The technology was difficult before. Now, literally, there's like apps you could download. You could do it. It's becoming so easy you could do it yourself. One person could create that type of havoc. And now, all of a sudden, if they create one of the American president or the North Korean leader, or all of a sudden now they're saying inflammatory things, and people start acting in real time. You go, so we're going to have to pursue technology, and I think there's things out there, blockchain, and there's certain other technologies that we're going to have to pursue to make sure that these things are verified. But it's crazy. There's so many good things that'll happen, but there's so many things that we really have to be careful of.
Yeah, we just got a comment. One web world sounds too much like one world government, not very reassuring. So again, this can be a little scary, but
Right.
here's a thought, Jim. Fake news, this rise of this idea of fake news, it might have also risen, this idea that the news is fake, out of what you're talking about. People are starting to see all of this content, and a lot of it isn't genuine, and so people are starting to question everything. And so I think we're going to have to get tools, and we're going to have to get good at discerning what's real and what's not real, and not take anything maybe at face value right up front. This is
anything.
This is where I think we're going to have to get really good at holding back judgment. I was a huge fan. I have two daughters. I was a huge fan of the Me Too movement. Huge fan. I thought it was about time that a lot of people got. We've known a lot of guys in our day. Their ass had it coming a long time, and good.
Right.
But I think we have to be careful, just using this as a kind of a side example, that let's make sure someone didn't fake that photo. Let's make sure that person. I really liked. I could appreciate what the media started doing with the Me Too movement, even if they didn't say they were doing it, they wouldn't put out allegations unless there was like 5, 6, 7 people. One allegation, because to your point, what if someone, what's real and what's not real? We're going to have to, if we see a video of someone we know a year or two from now and it's something questionable, is it real? Did someone doctor that? You hear someone's voice. You're saying pretty soon you're going to be able to create an audio recording in your basement that's fake. So we got to learn how to not take everything at face value when we see it, I think.
But that technology is today. That's the crazy part. We're not talking 5 years from now. Is it discernible? And I think to your point, it's not somebody just being accused. You're just getting a finger pointed at somebody. That shouldn't be the the verdict, and the accusation shouldn't be the verdict. I think we do have to take a step back and have some due diligence, and the same thing, like fake news, and getting back to your point of allowing what's coming up in your feed, and then outside of social media, what do you sit and how many hours a day do you digest what the big media is sending to you, and is that what you want to be fed? And I love, there's apps out there like the Google News app. I think is fantastic because you choose exactly the topics you want to see. Now what pops up in those verticals is kind of up to the app, but all of a sudden you want to see, how do I have a real effect on homelessness, or how do I change a community for the better? All of a sudden that's the news that you're seeing. How do I use blockchain for good?
Yeah.
Right. That's what you're digesting day in and day out, and that's what I'm trying to focus on.
So Kenneth Dauer, Dauer, said, we will clone another Jim Thomas and have him reside in Playa Vista, California. We need to clone him. So
I used to live in Silicon Beach is what I think they call it now. But yeah,
California,
Playa
what a
Vista.
beautiful place. Right?
Yeah. The sad part, I still, I'm born and raised. I love California. I love LA. The crazy part about Los Angeles is it now has 10 million people just in LA County, and the state of California now has more people than the country of Canada. So just until we come up with new modes of transportation, and hopefully we'll get to talk about transportation a little bit later, it's just a lot of people really condensed. And I think that's why, popularity of California is not going away, and I certainly don't hope that it is, but I think that there's a lot of areas. Obviously we've seen the growth of Austin and Miami. Now we're seeing a lot of action in Nashville, Orlando. There's just places around the country that people are really gravitating towards, and I think it's for the right reason.
So transitioning just a second, Jim, is social media ruining your life? I want to talk about the idea that social media is forever. We've chatted about this before as well, but the idea that whatever you do on social media, you have to understand that is out. Once you put something out there, both practically and legally, that's going to be, that digital footprint, as we talked about earlier, is out there for the long haul. I want to have Gabe bring up, this was fascinating to me. Villanova played Michigan. I'm a huge Michigan fan. I was crushed that they lost to Villanova in the NCAA men's basketball championship. They got beat. They got beat largely because they had, I believe, a sophomore, junior, 6th, 7th man off the bench. Pull that up, Gabe. Villanova, the guy from Villanova. This is where I'm going.
Yeah.
Garza de la something. He'll pull it up in a second. But this guy scored like 31 points off the bench in the championship game. Yep. Amazing. Moment of his life. A few hours later, he's named the finals MVP. A few hours later, his social media, people start going through it. They've never heard of him. Right. And he's got posts on there where he had quoted rap songs and used the N-word, and all of a sudden he was under siege.
Microscope.
Dante DiVincenzo, of course, that's what I was saying.
Instant microscope.
Yeah, he was a star for about 6 hours because they went on his Facebook and saw that he had put some posts up that, again, I did not think that they were offensive. But by the way, back to jumping to conclusions. This guy, the way it was reported, he had the N-word on there. He was quoting a song from Jay-Z. He's a basketball player. Right. He's around black culture, and and these were from years ago, though. These were from years ago. So he deleted his Twitter instantly and was under fire from the Rainbow Coalition. Right. So you put stuff on social media. This is where I'm going with this. You got to be careful. It's forever. Right. And by the way, if you're listening out there, there's one thing I want to tell you. I'm going to give you one practical thing right now. When it's 1:30 in the afternoon and you post on social media from work, people can see it. Just so you know, your boss can see that shit. Okay? Just let you know, you probably don't want to post, a test, some test you took to tell what kind of sugar cookie you would be if you were in the bakery. You probably don't want to post that test at 11:27 a.m. because the test took 45 minutes and your boss sees what time you posted it. just for the record. But Jim,
solid career advice coming out today.
I'm just telling you, these are the things. These are the things you got to think about.
Pearls of wisdom.
How do should people be thinking about what they post before they put stuff on the internet?
I think you talking about this digital footprint, the idea that you're not creating, right this second, are creating a digital footprint that'll potentially last forever, right? So you want to be authentic and you want to be real, but you also want to know that this is like, back in the old days of, I'm going to write a letter to the editor and it might be, might print it in the paper or whatever. Now every like and every quote that we tweet, it's potentially out there forever, and we're going to be judged. 5 and 10 years from now, people could pull up this show and be like, well, why were you talking about such and such? And we would
Andre
be
was
judged.
talking about the N-word.
Yeah. Why would you even bring that up in polite conversation? What an abomination. And you'll be judged upon that. But I think the point that you make is we're all making footprints, and it just before you got to get away with you could do a lot of random things on the side and live a double life and do a bunch of stuff. And these days that just doesn't. You would have to disconnect from all of you would have to be a hermit to not have a digital footprint. I
think there is something positive about that too. There's this feeling, you were talking about this idea that there's more negativity, or that people are unhappy more than they've ever been, and it's kind of bizarre because we live in such a great country, especially with prosperity and wealth, and not everybody's prosperitus, as the Quakers would say. But this idea that the digital footprint, that we have to be careful of it. I think it's profound. I think that people have to be really, really cognizant of what they're doing now and how it will ripple forward. I was looking at some of my own social media recently and thinking, if someone went through, I saw that article last week, if someone went through my entire data file, did you like a joke that was off color? Right. That's in your file. Did someone put something? It wasn't
an accident.
No.
But you're still on record as liking something
forever,
maybe inappropriate.
Forever.
Yeah, right.
So again, I don't want to change the subject, and I'm not changing the subject, but comedy. A lot of comedy that we grew up.
Right.
I mean, I'm 41, you're 26, but a lot of the 27. A lot of the comedy that we grew up, all of us watching, was off color and had
Richard Pryor
was
Eddie Murphy, Andrew Dice Clay. Name them. You're like, what? By the fact that you watched it, are you complicit? Right.
Well, imagine this. Right. Imagine if someone could pull up a record of every show you ever watched that had some kind of off-color humor in it. It's not that any of those things by themselves were terrible. It's the presentation of it. I think. But where I was going, Jim, I'm sorry, I got off track a second. I think there's a positive to that as well, though, because I don't think we're more racist than we've ever been. If you look at the stats, we are absolutely getting less racist as a society. Right. My daughters, I have 2 daughters, 18 and 17, they don't even understand racism. So if you look at Gen Z, Gen Z's these Parkland kids, 19, 18, 17, I've heard this said before, they only identify that there's a diversity problem when diversity's not there. They don't even see diversity unless it's not there. So I think that what we are seeing, though, is with racism and with some of these other, topics, it's harder to hide it now. It's harder to hide, to your point, if you're racist or if you're someone who is a misogynist or if you're someone who's just an a-hole. It's just harder to hide who you are. And I think in an aggregate there can be something positive to that, because you're gonna be pushed to the fringe if you're not careful, because you can't hide who you are anymore.
Well, and hopefully even something like the root of racism really came from a disconnection of people, or somehow, one side of humanity seeing the other side of humanity is different. And hopefully as I think through social media and through technology and through diverse dealings, you just realize we don't choose who we're born as. We can, I don't know, discriminate, or we can choose not, as people are negative on social, then you can choose not to be around certain people because of their behaviors, but you don't because of their race or gender or sexual orientation. Like that's something totally separate. And I think those are the pieces where social really brings us together. And it's only isolated incidents. So many, it's why news goes negative so often is 1 million people. You think of those billion people that were on specifically Facebook today. How many positive interactions were there? And I would say it was 99%, maybe 98% positive, but that 2% that was negative, it's in your face. It's like you go down your street and all of your neighbors says hi, and then one of them at the end of the street flips you off.
That's who you remember.
Yeah, you're like, it would change your day. But you might have just driven past 100 people that are, Andre, I love you. Wow, keep it up. You are awesome. And that one guy at the end of the block, for whatever reason, does that. But it's such a small minority. But it hits us such a visceral place that's where I think people get caught up, and that's where people go, oh, social is so negative. And then the other piece that I brought up earlier was where there's this veil of, it's kind of like the rumor mill, like what you would say on the street or to media, you would never say that. But somehow social allows some people to maybe just be who they really are. And when they see you in person, they act a certain way, but then on social, it's something different. And maybe, I don't know, maybe social's really where their heart is or something. But I still feel like it's such a small portion of people, but they get the most amount of attention.
Yeah, I don't want to pick on Facebook, but I will tell you, there's a lot of research coming out, a lot of whistleblowers coming out who worked for Facebook. That one recently that came out that said, and I'm paraphrasing here, that Facebook has created algorithms where when something is negative, they will put that in front of you first because they know it's going to get a reaction. It's going to create some thread of interaction. And so it's one thing to walk down your street and one neighbor out of 50 flicks you off, but what if your street...
That's the first one you saw, right?
Or what if the neighborhood had 50 spotlights to instantly shine on that neighbor giving you the bird? That's the fear with Facebook right now, is that capitalism sometimes gone wrong. I think I'm a capitalist. I love our economy. I think building our economy is a great, important part of our society. But maybe, just maybe, some of these social media companies, in the pursuit of profits, they have used these powerful tools in a way that are too powerful because people don't know what they're up against.
And I think it's the perfect point. And watch or don't watch the nightly news tonight, but when you watch the story, the first story is the hook, right? That's the big story of the day, and it's going to be a murder or a fire or something terrible, because we live in a world of 8 billion people. Horrible things happen every day. I'm just saying that there's less of those horrible things happening today than there were in the past. And I think Facebook and those type of media agencies, all they're doing is playing by the same book. They know their profitability is if they can keep you for 20 minutes as opposed to 2 minutes. That drives their numbers way up, and now they can give that back to their advertisers. And it's the same thing, nightly news. We kept that viewer for the entire half hour, not just the first 3 minutes. It's the same model, but we have to just get to this higher place, this enlightened place where we see what it is that they're doing. The hard part is those events really happened. The building down the street burned down. Like, people lost their lives. Like, that's real. It captivates us. But compared to what's happened over the past, and to get political, the whole idea of
actually, I want you to get political, because then it'll get negative, and our likes will go up.
Then we'll get negative. Yeah, we'll see. We'll create controversy. We should have led with more controversy.
We should have led with Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton.
Exactly. We're going to dissect that. The only issue that I take with Make America Great Again is, what year is that referring to? Make America Great Again. Because it's not, I think we could all get behind Make America Great or Make America Greater. Right. But the idea that it was it the 2000s? Was it the 80s? Was it the 60s? Was it the 20s? Like what year was it in America that we were better than we are now? Or what year in all of humanity is better than this moment right now?
So I want
that's my message.
So what I want to know about Make America Great Again, that slogan and that hat, and I really want to know this, and Gabe, if you can figure this out, let me know. But that hat is the most ridiculous. It's not just the design. It's like it looks like $1. Like someone made that damn hat for $1. But I wonder, was that purposeful? Because it was such a counterculture, if you will. I just wonder, was it kind of like, because it's one of two things. It was some genius, some cultural genius who's like, you've got this perception of New York City and people wearing Gucci and Anna Wintour. Let's create a trucker-looking hat that says Make America Great Again.
And it's red.
And it's red, and it
out.
looks cheap, and it sits on your head real weird.
Right.
It was either someone who really thought it out, or I swear to G, it was like Donald's little kid went on a website and built the first 5 hats, and
that's what they came up with.
And that's what they came up with.
Either genius or no fashion sense.
Either genius or completely accident.
Right.
But to your point, you make a claim. When was America not great? It's
no, and I wouldn't say. I was just saying.
No,
he
he was.
But this moment in time, I spoke to a group the other night, and I said we could stay here all night. We could come up with a business idea. We could launch a website. We could be out and selling this whatever product we are tomorrow and making millions of dollars. And the point I said earlier. When in history have you been able to improve 1 billion people's lives literally almost overnight and sell them a $1 product of value, and you're the next billionaire?
Gabe, what does it say? How did America become great again?
It's an old slogan. It came from Reagan's campaign.
So Reagan said "Make America Great Again" for the first time. Bill Clinton used it, and then Trump kind of doubled down on it. But again, I'm more interested in that hat. That hat is where it's at. And so let me come back a second. Gabe, go ahead and pull up the five areas that Jimbo and I were talking about today. Is social media ruining your life? I think the answer is it can, but it doesn't have to. So Gabe, pull up those 5 memes with the words on it. Coming up in 3, 2, 1. No, it didn't work. I tried an arbitrary countdown, and it didn't work. But I felt it was going to work. Here we go. Here we go. So this was just our big idea. But Gabe, go to the next slide here. All right, 5 things again, quicker this time. 5 ways to change your social media for good. Number 1, be selective. Number 5, be selective with the people you follow. Unfollow some people. I did this recently, Jim. I went through and unfollowed a lot of folks who I just, I didn't necessarily think that their input was positive. So unfollow people. Be selective. This is social media. Your social media is not a democracy. It is a dictatorship run by you. By you. So be the dictator, the benevolent dictator of your social media. Be selective with the people you allow in your world. Next slide. Don't live in the past. And this is a good rule for your life. But don't use social media to dwell on old relationships, on old jobs, on parts of your life that you should move on from. Don't live in the past. Listen, cyber stalk your ex for 15 minutes. Just get a little fix one day, then never do it again. That's the American way. Okay, so don't live in the past. And as we said earlier, this was incredibly important. I hope you were listening to this. This is the rule. If you're married, or if you have a significant other, you can't be friends with anyone you've seen naked. That's the rule. So you might be doing some unfriending a little later, but we don't want to have those put on the site, please. All right, next. turn off your notifications and your alerts. Facebook is set up specifically. We can't get rid of Facebook, but if we're gonna help it in our lives be more healthy, Facebook is set up to put these likes in your face for your phone, the sensories, the dopamine. Turn off your notifications, your alerts. Stop living click by click, like by like. You're better than likes. I just want you to know. Listen, we like you. I like you. Jim likes you. Your family likes you. That random ass person out there who's clicking that button and putting a comment on your Facebook, on your Instagram, they don't even know you. Get likes in real life. Turn off your notifications and alerts. Don't do negative. This is a tough one, but don't allow social media and your interaction on it to be negative. Just don't do negative. And last but not least, and this is my favorite, this is what I think I want to dwell on for just a few minutes. Create a digital footprint of love and compassion. What if we, Jim, every time we went on social media, what if we said, when I click on this device, when I engage with people in my world or people in cyber world, my goal is to spread love and compassion. If you pulled up your phone and every time you pulled it up it said, how are you about to spread love and compassion? How would social media be different?
It makes me think, I was talking with a friend the other day, and she said that she had stopped posting on social media because she felt like it had become about her. Yeah, it was just too ego driven. And there was a small group of us, and we said, wait a minute, what you post is usually is beautiful stuff. Like, stop thinking in terms, if that's what you're doing it for, just solely ego-based, then stop doing that. But why not share things like what you're sharing impacts the rest of us? Like, don't be selfish and keep all that great stuff to yourself. So it was really, your words now, is like she had stopped her footprint altogether. And I think she had something really beautiful to share on an ongoing basis. And I said, you need to get back into social media. What about if you stopped, a great message to share over and over, if you just said, I'm done. You're going to go back to licking stamps and writing letters and mailing stuff out. You're like, no, the impact that you can have and we can all have to affect positive change, use it for that tool that it is.
It's almost like, and that person you're talking about, maybe they had to go through a process and they're making some corrections there, and I think that's good. But it's almost like, I think about food consumption. I mean, your wife is a tremendous cook, and she's a organic chef. What's the term?
Her company is Wellness Innovation, so it's not just locked into one.
But she's a foodtrepreneur. That's the word I was looking for. But I think when I think about your wife's company, the work she does, or anyone who's into diet and nutrition when it comes to food, listen, food is everywhere, bro. Food is everywhere. It's really about the discipline of making choices. You know this, and some folks out there who know me know this. I've done a keto type diet for a very, very long time. I got to tell you, keto being very little carbohydrates, a lot of proteins. Right. When you first go down that road, if for whatever reason you do it by choice, or some people have to have a surgery and they have to cut out food in a certain way, it's shocking to you how many choices you have all the time that you didn't even realize were choices. When I had to go on this keto diet a few years ago for the first time, I walked into the supermarket and 95% of what was out there I couldn't buy. Right. So
probably most of the they call it the middle aisles of the grocery store.
Everything.
All processed, stuff you like literally you couldn't have.
Couldn't have. Yeah. But what was interesting to me, Jim, is I hadn't even processed how many choices there were until I had to limit those choices. And I think maybe social media is that same way. Your friend had to go through a period of time where it's like, okay, how do I make there's so many choices. There's so many people to interact with. There's so many comments I can put out. There's so many messages I can share. How do I create a diet of what I consume on social media and what I put out? I think that's a discipline we're going to have to learn.
And just as you said that, it made me think, I see it as three things. Am I trying to lift myself up? am I trying to tear somebody else down, or am I trying to lift somebody else up? And if you approach each one of your likes and each one of your posts as, I'm actually trying to lift a group up, or I'm trying to inform a group about something, or do something educational or something. If when you are posting or liking, if you feel good about what it is that you're doing, I think that's a healthy social media diet.
I'm going to, we should try this. I'm going to try for 40 days to do nothing but love and compassion on social media. And by the way, you can do love for people or situations you're against. Love and compassion doesn't always mean you're just nice. It can be
honest.
It can be something like, Mayor Jacobs, I'm praying for you, even though you're completely against the children's tax locally that Dick Batchelor is pushing that will help all these kids in need. But I'm praying for you, even if I don't really like you a whole lot. Like, it's sort of like that, It's kind of, right? That wasn't love and compassion, was it? Oops, Alex, the producer, saying
that was a Central Florida. That was a Central Florida reference.
Sorry, so I went Central Florida. So, by the way, Robert Agrusa, what's up? Anna B, what's up? Everett, what's up? Rhett, how you doing, my boy Rhett? So yeah, I think that idea that you're gonna
But you know when you're posting something, like you know, like, hey, look at me, or like you're just trying to tear somebody else down, and then it's okay. You don't have to agree with everybody, but is there vitriol and negativity behind what you're saying, or just like, hey, I want to throw out a counterpoint, like, hey, I get what you're saying, I hear it, but have you seen this article? Have you seen this? And it's not just my opinion and throwing rocks at each other. And then I would, to your point and from your list, if that's what those people are doing, you just go click, unfollow, click unfriend. You don't have to, I don't think you have to throw out entire social networks. You do have to pay attention to the privacy policies. You do have to be cognizant of what is being captured and how it could be used in the future.
My boy Rhett Adams, who I played basketball with in high school, Rhett could jump out of the gym. You ever see those like stilts that you'd put on to like get your calves big? Rhett could dunk so well, and he was. So Rhett says positivity breeds positivity. Rhett, right. I agree with that. So we're kind of wrapping up here in just a minute. But I want to come back to the grocery store analogy, because I think I think we're onto something here. If I walk in the grocery store and I have no boundaries to what I buy, I walk by and whatever like catches my eyesight, I start throwing it in the cart and eating it. Well, that's kind of going to be a dangerous situation for me in a lot of ways. When I go to the grocery store, when you go to the grocery store, we're incredibly specific and strategic. You might bring a list. You know what you consume. You know what you want to pay. And there's there's a lot of options, thousands and thousands of options in that grocery store. But you've got a plan. You've got a strategy. You know what you eat. You know what's good for you. And that's how you navigate that grocery store in a healthy way. Maybe this is the way we got to become when it comes to social media. And by the way, the grocery store's job is to sell you shit, is to sell you food.
They want you to buy one of everything.
They want you to buy one of everything, and especially the bad stuff. So maybe in that regard, I get where you're coming from, and I would agree with this, that Facebook and other mediums, social media apps and platforms, and a lot of technology, not just social media, it's created to draw you in. And maybe that's the disconnect, is we weren't thinking that way. But we got to retrain our brains and say we're going to approach this powerful technology with strategy, with a diet. I consume this. I don't No. I don't go down that aisle. I don't eat those things. And if we do that, we still can connect, and we can connect in a way that's positive.
I think the key word, and you just said it, is navigate. You have to. You're not going to go to the grocery store and buy one of each. The basket ain't that big, and your budget's not that big. You have to. We navigate our time. We navigate our friends, and we have to. We're all novices because social media has been around and the scope of humanity has been around such a small amount of time, and nowhere else, like we said earlier, have you been able to communicate with millions and potentially billions of people simultaneously. It was one-to-one or very small groups, and now it's it's the whole world. And that's why I said in the next few years, it'll be the entire world. And how do we navigate that, especially with these new technologies coming out that could, fake people's personas or voices or whatever. We have to be as
Digitalization?
digitalization.
I like that. The digitalization of a society.
As vigilant as we think we need to be today, that has got to be tenfold tomorrow.
Now that's true, unless the zombie apocalypse comes, and then then the grid just comes down, and then what really sucks about the idea, most importantly as we close, of the zombie apocalypse, is in the zombie apocalypse, then my awesome redneck brother was right about everything. It was really, in the end, we thought all these really high-tech conversations were important, but it was really just amassing, dried goods and ammunition. My
brother-in-law got taken out by a zombie.
So I don't think that's real. I think that's fake news.
He was on The Walking Dead, so that was so cool. Yeah. So he was literally
Jeremy
Palko. Yeah, but it was crazy when people said, "Oh, I heard your brother-in-law got killed." And you're like,
he was literally killed by a zombie. Pull up Jeremy Palko real quick. Gabe's pulling him up. Walking
Dead.
God,
yeah.
But so give me a quick update on what's going on in your world, man.
Just having a great time. We're shooting this today from Orlando. I mentioned earlier, I'm originally from Los Angeles, and just having a great time in Central Florida. I think it's really one of the up and coming, not just tech hubs, but I think cultural hubs. The art and the food and the people. Yeah, I think a lot of great urban areas are really seeing a revival. We've seen Detroit, and there's so many great places. But I say that one great thing about Orlando and Central Florida, I go back to I call it the latitude and the attitude. We have such a great diversity of people, of certainly race, but then of mindset. But I think most of the time the people we come in contact here are open to communicating, and some of that vitriol that we see on social media, I don't see that as much in Central Florida. So that's just one thing. I travel all over the world in a lot of different communities, but that's one of the things that strikes me these days, and I enjoy being in the Orlando area, and then heading up the new Orlando Tech, talking about globally changing technologies, where autonomous driving is heading, and artificial intelligence and additive manufacturing, where we're going to be as a society and what we're going to be able to offer all of humanity in the next, I think, just 5 years is really, really exciting. And I think so many of us are working on that community aspect, and driving with good technology and good communication methods is going to get us to a really great place.
Hey, pull up Jeremy real quick again. Have you still got Jeremy there? Show people who Jeremy was. I pull that down. So which one?
Oh,
is that him right there to the left?
Yep, he's the guy
holding the camera.
Oh, that's his.
That's a behind the scenes shot, I think.
This is his. Wow, this is good. This is his demo reel. This was from a show that was down in filmed in the Keys.
Gotcha.
It's called,
you have his Walking Dead video?
I think that was called Bloodline. Yeah. Or if you
oh, okay. Oh, this is him right here.
Oh, yeah.
This is him right here talking to, what's this guy's name? Rick. Walking Dead.
Yeah.
So that's him right there.
Yeah.
And he got eaten, right?
He got
made shot.
He made it in series, or the seasons 6, 7, and 8, and then he finally got eaten by zombies. But it was so funny. You said people don't, die from zombies, and I'm like, oh no, my brother-in-law was killed by a zombie.
But was he killed by a zombie, or was he shot? I thought he was shot.
Well, it was on a zombie show.
It was on a zombie show. That's true. So.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to let you get out of here. You got to get home. You're going to beat your wife home too.
Well, she's doing a cooking demonstration class in our home tonight.
Wow!
So I'm gonna catch
Okay.
the second half of that. Yeah, it's great bringing people together, talking about social media, but having one-on-one conversations, talking about the future of food and wellness and what you do buy in that grocery store and what you don't, and how you navigate your diet, and hopefully how you navigate your social media.
Gabe, pull up those two memes, the green memes again, real quick. Pull those up one more time. The all green ones, the one that has the writing on it. There you go. We're going to post these on our social media channel right now. Use social media to change the world. Don't let it use you and ruin yours. This is back to, Jim, what you talked about, which is we got to be smart. We got to be smart. We got to learn a diet of consumption. Gabe, throw that other one up there. And this is another meme about social media. Use social media. I love this. To create a digital footprint of love and compassion. Create a digital footprint of love and compassion on the hearts of everyone you are connected with. If we all look at social media and we say we got to figure out how to navigate it, got to have some boundaries, got to cut out all those crazy people that talk a bunch of negativity, and then we go on and we say, how do I use this to do something positive? In an aggregate of little decisions every single day. I think it can be a powerful tool. It's not going anywhere. Social media, technology, you're in a good business, my friend, because technology is here to stay. Those that know, I say this, and for anyone listening or people in my real life, 3 things are going to define power in the next 10, 20, 30 years. Technology, culture, and communication. Those are the 3 power bases in our society now because they control everything and they're tied together. So a tech guy like you, man, you're in a good spot. Jim, thanks for coming in, man.
Hey, man.
Thanks for coming in.
Always great hanging out.
Thanks to Gabe, Alex. How'd we do today, Alex? You happy? Okay. Alex is always stressed out. Daniela, we can't see you, but you did great. Thank you, everyone. We will see you very, very soon. Take care.